Most people think of Wildlife Safari as the place to go to see some animals you wouldn't normally get to see in a drive-through situation in a safari. Well, what people may not realize is how much Wildlife Safari is involved in the world of education for our children here in Southern Oregon.
Welcome to Adventures in Education, a program that spotlights positive things happening in the world of education in Southern Oregon. I'm your host, John Letz, and today we are going wild. Yes, we have some wild guests on today, but I want to first introduce my main guest, who's not so wild, but knows a few things about the wild world. I have Leila Goulet on the show today from Wildlife Safari. So there's the wild part. Leila, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm still pretty wild, I'd like to think.
All right. Well, that's what we want. We have a wild time.
Yeah.
Now you have another guest on the program.
Yes, Julieanne Rose here. She's our lead educator at Wildlife Safari.
So welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Now we're going to have a wild guest here that is from South America, and we're going to have this guest join us right now. That's what Julieanne's doing. She is the animal handler, I guess is the right word. And look at who we have here. So, looks like this is an animal that enjoys her breakfast.
Yes, she's been waiting very patiently for her breakfast this morning. She's been pretty good.
Okay, so what can you tell me about this?
So this is Patty, and she's actually a Patagonian cavy. They're native to South America, Patagonia to be specific, and they are the second largest rodent in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the first one being the
capybara.
Capybara, okay.
Yes.
Now, this, what did you say her name was again?
Her name is Patty. But
Patty,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
Now, Patty has, what's her history?
She was actually brought to the park as a donation, and she's just been an absolutely amazing ambassador animal for us. We take her out on outreach, and she's able to be touched by the public as well, so it's a really great way to get hands-on with these animals, and she just has the perfect personality for it as well.
I'm trying to get her little cooing sound. That's why I'm leaning forward.
She's pretty much like a giant guinea pig with the way she interacts and her sounds and her diet.
And her diet actually doesn't smell so bad. It's kind of has a green smell to it.
Yeah, and in the wild they would eat things like grasses and plants. And here at Safari we feed her some pellet mixtures so that she gets the vitamins and minerals she needs, but she also gets fruits and vegetables that are high in vitamin C, as well as some hay as well.
And diet is very important for
It's really important for all of our animals as well. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a part of the educational outreach.
Yes.
And that's the reason you guys are on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
I found out, first of all, that Wildlife Safari is a nonprofit organization.
It is actually, yes. Not a lot of people realize that.
And I think part of that is that, you see signs for it, billboards for it on the freeway. You see people going in, and you might think, oh, well, this is a for-profit kind of thing. But actually, you guys are nonprofit.
That's right. That's right. We have 600 acres there, and it costs around $12,000 a day just to run. So all of the proceeds that we get from admissions and donations and fundraising events, that's basically how we raise our money. So we're not at all city funded.
So if you think that the entrance fee is steep, compare that to going to South America, to Patagonia. you're probably going to pay 6 times that much just for the coat you're going to need in Patagonia, right? Because it gets very cold down there.
No, it's a great way to get people to be really close with the animals and to really create that bond. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to see these animals any other way. You know, not many of us exactly can travel to Patagonia or Africa.
Not on my
No.
not on my retirement.
No.
So, well, I tell you what, we're going to go to a video clip in just a moment, and we'll see just kind of an overview of the park at Winston, Oregon, right in Douglas County. So right now, let's go and take a field trip to Wildlife Safari.
You get to cruise through 2 times. Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Arriving in Wildlife Safari in Winston, Oregon, it's clear that this is a place to see animals from your car. And I don't mean your neighborhood animals. You're transported quickly to the fauna of other continents. One look at these twisted horns tells you you're looking at animals from other parts of the world. Traveling to Africa is not likely to happen for me, but after a short drive from Grants Pass, I get to see a herd of grazing zebras. And I'm not the only one capturing this African wildlife scene on videotape. I find a new use for a sunroof. At least that's the way it looks through our windshield. I learned where Texas longhorn cattle came from, and I was thrilled to see this herd of buffalo, even if they were being stalked by a bear. It seems that the least shy of the animals here is the ostrich. This is why visitors are urged to roll up their windows if approached by wildlife. Even if they do seem to have a goofy smile on their face, or their beak in this case. These animals entertain just by being themselves, but learning also takes place here, eyes-on learning if not hands-on. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my! Well, they are all here and likely to be seen from the safety of your car. Or you can get closer in a sort of cage on wheels. We were in the cage, and the animals on the outside were looking at us. We were looking closely at Wildlife Safari's educational outreach. They host camps for kids in the summer, and one of the camp activities was feeding the giraffes. These wildlife encounters allow people to get closer and learn more. I chose giraffe feeding to demonstrate one major adaptation seen in giraffes. I did not know that we would be feeding the giraffes. This was the same activity that the camp group had done earlier in their week at Wildlife Safari. Our arrival was greeted by 2 giraffes of different sizes, each wasting no time in approaching us. We had 2 video cameras working, getting different angles of the action. The bigger of the 2 giraffes reached in first to be fed lettuce. When you feed giraffes this way, you learn to look up, their long necks holding their heads skyward. Watch what happens here as the taller male giraffe gets fed more lettuce. Now the smaller giraffe gets offered some. Listen to the reaction of this 3-year-old as her mom feeds the giraffes.
Life Safari, mate is a Rothschild, so they are much darker with those dark brown spots and the caramel in between their spots. And then Erin is a reticulated, so she has those bright orange spots with the bright white channels in between her spots. It's because these males do fight for dominance. Erin, you're just a little... She's like, nope, I'm going to steal it right out of your mouth. These guys have very long tongues, as you can tell. They have about 1 inch of tongue for every foot they are tall.
Oh, wow.
So hers is about 14 inches long, Mate's is almost 18 inches long.
It's so smiley. Yeah.
For those wanting to learn, the park staff share their extensive knowledge of the animals.
They don't sleep a whole lot. They usually sleep max about 4 hours a day, but they break it up into about 15-minute increments.
Now the large male turns and walks away, leaving only the smaller female to enjoy the green snacks.
Hi there.
She seems to take note of me and my camera.
This isn't food. Ah, that's food. There you go.
Perhaps tired of having the food snatched from his mouth, the large male walks to the barn. Giraffes' long necks allow them to eat leaves too high on trees for other animals to reach. We also learned that giraffes have excellent eyesight. They can spot predators a long way off. So these eyes also help them survive. And then there's the long tongue. Crew member Alex McGlasson trained his camera on the large male eating hay without competition in the barn. Suddenly, he has a closer encounter than he'd bargained for.
Hi. I don't think you're close enough, Alex. Good thing I've got the wide angle on there. I mean, hi. She wants you.
Here's the same action from the point of view of my camera.
Hey.
She wants you, camera.
Oh my goodness.
She's very curious. That's not food, pretty girl. She says, are you sure?
A bit disappointed at the taste of Alex's microphone, she turns away. Well, they say that animals are unpredictable. I guess that was certainly not something we predicted.
That was really fun.
I noticed the giraffe got one taste of that windscreen on the microphone and lost all interest in whatever that was in terms of something to eat.
Yep, they're pretty smart like that.
That was funny. So you're getting a taste of some of the resources that Wildlife Images has for education, and that's a good example. Now we have another guest here, and maybe you can explain who this is and what this is.
Sure. So this is Callie, and
Callie.
she's, yes, appropriately named because she's actually a California Desert Tortoise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she is
We've heard of
also a rescue. We're not sure how old she is. We think she's around 10 years old, but she's an awesome ambassador because she is an endangered species.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so these guys, a couple decades ago, there weren't a lot of them left. They were getting a lot of diseases being out in the wild and stuff from people having them as pets and re-releasing them. So now with our recovery system, they're actually doing way better right now, but they're still listed as endangered. So it's great to educate the kids about that.
And I guess one thing that kids need to know is that this whole issue of pets that we're used to dogs and cats, and people kind of get the attitude of, well, anything would make a good pet.
Exactly.
But that's not really the case.
Exactly.
And this is a good case in point.
Yeah, I mean, these animals have very specific diets, very specific needs, and on top of that, she lives to be 50 to 70 years old. So we get a lot of phone calls about people who don't realize or don't do their research before and want to actually give them up or donate them to Safari.
Now, I think of a desert tortoise as being bigger than this. I understand that has to do with diet in this case?
Yes, yeah, I mean, they can get bigger than this. The one we used to have was quite a bit larger. So it kind of just depends on the species of tortoise.
And in part two, we have two parts of today's program. And in part two, we're going to explore and really show our viewers how kids interact with this. And it's really great. I thought it was a great lesson in adaptations, as well as that kind of bigger picture thing of if you don't know how to take care of a pet and you don't do it the right way, you could actually end up hurting that animal. And that basically is what's happened to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. She's not your typical tortoise. She does have kind of a concave shell, and that was because her previous owners were not 100% sure what her dietary requirements were. So she'd grow a little funny, and she kind of walks a little bit like a limp with a limp. However, she's in really good hands now, and our vet staff is taking good care of her, and she's on the proper diet now. So we hope she's going to regain a lot of that in the future.
So I guess a word of caution to somebody is that number one, not every animal is designed to be a pet, and I would say an
Absolutely.
endangered species is not.
No.
And then the other thing is just because an animal eats what you put in front of it does not mean that that's the diet that they need.
Absolutely. We actually have a skunk right now at Wildlife Safari, and she came in, she was around 10.5 pounds when we got her. Typical size of that species should be around 3 pounds, so she's down to around 3 right now, but she was 3 times what she should have been.
So she was fed, I take it,
Yeah, a lot of people food and just stuff they wouldn't naturally eat in the wild, so
okay.
we got her down to
Well, we have
healthy weight.
a great shot of her right here. And like I said, we'll have some video a little bit later of the kids interacting with her. But right now, we're going to see a video of kids interacting with a much bigger animal, with elephants.
Oh, I can't wait.
And so let's take another field trip out to Wildlife Safari.
The African lion sets a tone of wildness at Oregon's Wildlife Safari, attracting people from all over. But the park has a special place for children in Southern Oregon. These youngsters are spending some summer days here, learning about animals and their place in the world. It's part of Wildlife Safari's educational outreach, a function I know well from my days of teaching in Medford. As these summer campers board a kind of cage on wheels, I'm reminded of the many classes that took field trips to the park to reinforce their study of life sciences. This day, the campers are headed to the elephant compound, where they'll learn a lot more about planet Earth's largest land mammal. Drive-through visitors can get a glance at the elephants, but this group is going to see and even touch an elephant close up. The cage on wheels takes us through the park to the elephant compound. This is the final day of summer camp, but the kids seem anything but blasé about meeting more animals. You can hear their excitement as they wait for the elephant's keepers.
Oh no, she takes me every other. Oh, giraffe behind you. Giraffe. There's a giraffe. Oh, giraffe. Uh-oh.
An unplanned visit from a giraffe reminds us that animals can be unpredictable.
She's much smaller than me. I wouldn't say she's tiny though. She's pretty big. Oh God. Don't touch her.
The giraffe came over.
Don't fear. Hey guys, if you find little pieces of lettuce, just leave them where they are, okay? Because right now we're doing an elephant encounter. You already did a giraffe encounter. Trying to steal the limelight here.
Right.
Go do something else.
Too much attention.
Staff members try to cajole the giraffe into leaving, which he eventually does.
Go ahead and open the gate and I'll get walking.
She listened to Garrus.
Now that the giraffe has ambled off, the campers disembark to have an elephant encounter.
First is no running. Elephants don't run, so we don't either. We don't want to make them nervous. Also, we're going to head through the barn here. There's a couple tripping hazards, so please be careful as you're walking and watch where you're stepping. Once we get over there towards Valerie, we're going to have everyone line up against the wall. I'll let you know where you guys can go. We're going to make sure when we're feeding and petting Valerie that we all go one at a time and stay behind the line, okay? So you guys are going to follow me. We're going to head in and see where the elephants sleep.
An elephant barn features heavy-duty structures, a reminder of how incredibly powerful these animals are.
Isn't she a good girl? She's very smart. So Valerie's going to show off her ears to you, and that's the best clue as
One at a time, the kids get to feed the elephant a carrot and then carefully touch her trunk.
With each other, they like to make sure they stay nice and dusty. They'll throw water on themselves. We'll do hide produce for them, or give them, we have a giant red ball we'll hide treats in. So we try to keep them very busy throughout the day, and as keepers, we always kind of go around and interact with them all day, so they're not just thrown out in the yards and left alone. We make sure they stay nice and they can't stay directly below their head or their feet. So a lot of times if they need to pick something up off the ground with their nose, they'll feel around with those whiskers first to make sure it's not something bad that they shouldn't be picking up. Her trunk also has 100 feeding for now. So things like carrots, celery, apples, bananas, oranges, melons, yams. They like all sorts of different things, and it's one of their favorite treats.
I even got a chance to do it.
Go ahead.
Smaller ears.
She does have much smaller ears. That's your telltale sign for what kind of elephant you're going to be looking at.
While campers tell the difference between African and Asian elephants, we get to see Valerie's massive foot and learn why elephants throw mud on themselves.
It also acts like a sunscreen for elephants, so they can't get a little sunburn if they're out in the sun for too long. So they give themselves a nice protective layer of mud and dust and dirt. It also keeps bugs off. They have very, very thick skin, but it's also very sensitive. They can feel flies landing on them and bug bites, and they don't like it any more than we like it. So she's just trying to give herself a nice protective coating against all that. Go ahead.
Sort of like sunscreen.
Campers also learn about the ivory trade and how it's decimating elephant populations.
Elephants and what's going on with them right now. The International Elephant Foundation. They do a lot of amazing work helping elephants.
Valerie, what do you think?
And they can raise a bunch of birds.
Valerie, are you ready for a bath? You are. Are you sure? Valerie, what do you think about being dirty?
Okay, I think it's time we're going to have to give Valerie a bath here, so I think you guys are going to head back to the truck for a little bit.
Valerie, say bye-bye.
Valerie's going to say goodbye, you guys. You can give her a bath. Okay, guys, you're going to follow me. We're going to head back to the barn. We'll keep you guys in the shade. It's pretty hot today. Welcome back to Adventures in Education, and boy, are we having adventures today. We have gone wild. We have some guests from Wildlife Safari, and we have Leila Goulet.
Yes.
And we have Julieanne.
Rose.
And we have, I forgot her name.
Callie.
Callie,
yes, the
okay.
star of the show right now.
Now, Callie won't say much in today's program, but she is the star at the moment because this is a California Desert Tortoise.
Correct.
Now, I understand this is one of the animals that you'll take with you when you go out to schools?
Yes, we have about 25 animals in our department, ranging from insects to large mammals, reptiles. So all of them will come off site with us, and we'll bring them to schools or libraries. We'll use them in our camps presentations, and they're just amazing animals to be able to educate the kids with.
I imagine there's no lack of enthusiasm from the kids when they see
No, never. And we never know what kind of reaction we're going to get either. So sometimes they will be shocked or yell, or sometimes they'll be excited and squeal. So it's always a lot of fun.
Now, you guys do a lot of outreach, which was very good to hear for our kids in Southern Oregon.
Yes.
As a teacher, I knew that a lot of times in the Medford School District, the teachers would bring their kids out to Wildlife Safari.
Yes.
So they get to see the animals and stuff. What other things do you do?
I'm going to let Julieanne field that question.
We are so fortunate to be able to offer a really wide variety of programs for students all over Oregon. And like you were saying, we do get to take a lot of the animals out to schools, and we have schools that come to us, so they can do on-site presentations, they can go through the drive-through, they can do some of the encounters that we've been showing footage of. So it's a great opportunity to get them out of the classroom and learning on safari grounds. And up-close experiences with animals, they really just stick with these kids. And they'll come up to us in grocery stores or when we're out and be like, we remember you from our field trip. And they'll tell us all about the animals they saw and what a great experience it was. So that's really exciting for us.
There is something there's a connection that kids have with animals. Don't you see that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure, and even myself as a kid, I definitely had that connection. It's probably why I ended up where I did. Yeah, and not just for our students or in the area, we also have a high school class that we do with one of the alternative high schools in the area. So it's a chance for those kids to get out of their normal learning environment, come to Safari, and do a little bit more hands-on learning. So that's a fun opportunity.
And I imagine that really, I mean, just in outdoor education in general, it really touches some kids and really kind of brings them, as the saying is, out of their shell. Sorry, buddy. Do you see that when you're working with kids?
It's amazing. You know, the kids will come in on the first day and they'll be scowling and acting like they don't want to be there. And the second we bring out an animal, they just come alive and they really start engaging. And it's a great bridge where we can start getting them enthusiastic and really wanting to be learning in the classroom.
Yeah. It's really fun too to see the kids that start off, in camps 5 years ago, and they kind of grow up with Safari into our junior zookeeper program. That's a program for our older teens. So it's really neat to see how these kids grow and really become, animal advocates, really.
Yeah, and that is so hopeful for our future.
That's what we are hoping for, absolutely. That's why we do what we do. Yeah.
Well, I know as a retired teacher and as someone involved in outdoor education, I am so grateful for you guys being there as one of the resources we have in our area.
That's
Southern Oregon is so blessed, I think.
It really is. And what's really cool too is that in terms of resources, we do get grants every year to be able to help out local schools and schools down in Southern Oregon as well, and to be able to fund them to come to Safari and actually drive through our 4.5-mile drive-through and do guided tours and do animal encounters. So that is something important that we would love to get the word out more, that we actually do have grant funding for a lot of these kids.
Well, Wildlife Safari is so much a part of our region, just in general, and so much a part of our educational picture. We are going to have another part of this. So this is, we're wrapping up part 1, but we'll be back with part 2 of Wildlife Safari on adventures in education. So stay tuned and we'll be back with part 2. Man, we'll have some great stuff going on there. So be sure to join us for part 2, and we'll continue with our guests that we have here. And we'll have some new animal guests. So we have some new guests coming in, and you'll be able to see some that are often brought out to schools and shown to kids. And they have these interactions with the animals, and it's not something they're going to forget very much. So thanks for watching part 1, and we'll be back with part 2.